Hello and welcome to my film. Scotland has some pretty old trains rattling around at the moment, including the iconic InterCity HST trains, which are almost 50 years old. So how is Scotland going to replace them? Well, they've just published a 20-year plan to replace the fleet of trains in Scotland. Let's have a look at what that entails. The overall strategy is that the Scottish Government wants to become greener through electrification or partial electrification, enabling trains to become net zero. The document classifies ScotRail services as intercity, suburban and rural, strikingly similar to the original British rail sectors of intercity, network south east and provincial, though the parallel isn't exact. The document goes on to describe all the classes of train operated by ScotRail, both diesel and electric. In this film I'm only going to look at the diesel fleet, as this is where the greatest change will happen. The oldest trains are the iconic high-speed trains, which are nearly 50 years old and still operate the internal intercity services on the Glasgow and Edinburgh to Aberdeen and Inverness routes. Clearly these are early candidates for replacement, particularly as the unions have been uneasy about them since the Carmont accident in 2020, in which 3 people lost their lives, 2 of them being ScotRail's staff. The paper accepts that while electrification is a long-term aim, it is unlikely to happen in the timescale of this strategy, largely due to the distances involved and the resources available. It is also suggested that the disruptions necessary for this work would deter people from rail travel and be counterproductive. The procurement process was started in December 2024. It identified 2 options. The first is replacing the HSTs with newer cascaded trains from elsewhere in Britain. This would bring immediate improvements in passenger amenity, although it should be said that the HSTs have many followers and there are frequently good reviews on YouTube channels. However, their availability is not ideal, and substitution by 158s and or 170s, sometimes working in tandem, frequently happens, particularly on the Inverness run. The second option is to procure new bimodal electro-diesel trains, which would be a step in the direction towards net zero and be compatible with piecemeal electrification as funds permit. LNER resumers already do this on the Inverness to London train, so the technology works. I've watched the switch from diesel to electric at Stirling Station and it takes a couple of minutes. Realistically, it's likely that timescales and funds will favour the first option, moving to the second option later if funds permit. The document mentions the strained nature of Scottish Government finances, and a change in political control could also impact on rolling stock policy. The paper is silent as to whether they favour direct purchase, rather than leasing through one of the rolling stock companies. Leasing charges can become a burden compared with outright purchase, such as the new Merseyrail trains, which were purchased outright by the Liverpool City Region Combined Authority. Not only was this cheaper in the long run, but enabled Merseyrail to be more specific in their design specification. Whichever option happens, a number of 158s and 170s would be released for cascade elsewhere. I'll come back to that later. The suburban routes are essentially local services in the central belt around Glasgow and Edinburgh. Much of this mileage is already electrified, with the East Kilbride line coming on stream in the December timetable. Diesel services are operated by a mixture of Class 158 and 170 trains, as well as a small number of 156s in Glasgow. The 158 Express Sprinters were introduced in 1990 on a wide range of longer distance services, including Glasgow to Edinburgh trains, and currently cover a lot of services in Fife. The 170 Turbo Star trains were delivered in 1999 to 2001, again covering the Glasgow to Edinburgh service, displacing the 158s which were cascaded elsewhere. The Glasgow-Edinburgh electrification in recent years enabled a number of 170s to be cascaded to Northern Rail in England to help them eliminate pacers, but a significant number remain on ScotRail's books. Transport Scotland suggests that by enlarging the electric network, 170s and possibly 158s will have enough life left in them to cascade onto rural routes. The document discusses how to achieve electrification given the strain on Scottish Government budgets in recent years since the pandemic, saying that although total electrification of the network is a long-term aim, it won't happen in the short or medium terms because of the capital cost and potential disruptions. The paper sees battery electric trains as the solution, by which the trains would run under the wires where they could, switching to battery beyond the limit of overhead wiring. An example being the Tweed Bank line in the Borders, where overhead lines can be used as far as New Craig Hall, switching to battery power from there to Tweed Bank. Investment in charging facilities at Tweed Bank has been approved for this, and at other locations as well. Battery-only trains would be considered if the technology became suitably advanced, I think referring to some of the long distances or short terminal turnaround times required on some routes. Examples of such trains were displayed in Glasgow during the COP26 meeting in 2021. But there has been little progress since in achieving widespread take-up, the Isle of Wight being an isolated example. Also at COP26 in Glasgow was a Hydroflex train which ran a couple of trips, demonstrating gas-operated trains, but it wasn't actually running on gas, so the technology is a long way away, I think. Battery electric trains would enable 158 and 170 trains currently used on suburban lines to be cascaded onto rural routes. The rural routes are defined as Glasgow South Western, the West Highland lines, and the routes from Inverness to Wick, Thurso and Kyle of Lacalsh. The Inverness-Aberdeen line is also mentioned in this context, although the existence of HST diagrams on this line makes it a bit ambiguous. Let's start with the Glasgow South Western routes. These are operated by Class 156s, which were introduced in 3 batches in 1988-89, starting with the longer routes from Glasgow to Dumfries, Carlisle, Stranraer in October 1988, where they replaced mainly local haul trains of Mark I carriages. They also operate suburban services from Kilmarnock to Glasgow. The strategy is to cascade 158 and 170 units onto these lines as they become available through further electrification of suburban routes and the acquisition of battery electric trains there. The 158s are 35 years old, the 170s are 25 years old, so it's likely the 170s will be around for longer. The paper doesn't specify which will go where. I suspect they will both operate on Glasgow South Western routes interchangeably, as they currently do on the Highland Main Line. Regarding the West Highland lines, Glasgow to Open Fort William and Mallaig, the 156s have been a well-recognised feature of these routes, which are popular with tourists. There has been criticism in the Scottish press of the age of these trains, but ridership is still high in summer nevertheless, and in recent years has been boosted by the introduction in 2020 of refurbished 153 single-car units branded as Highland Explorer, with a capacity of 20 cycles with seating area. I've ridden in these and find them remarkably comfortable, considering both their age and mine. ScotRail seem proud of these trains, which might last a bit longer, as I think they got them on the cheap. So the question in my mind is, 158 or 170 for the West Highland? The 170s have large windows, and generally the seats coincide with the windows, making them ideal for the West Highland. The 3-car formation could be a disadvantage, although 170s operate as 2-car trains in parts of England. What would happen with the middle coaches if they were taken out? On balance, I think they would remain as 3-car sets. Even when operating in pairs, many stations can accommodate 6 or even 7-car formations, as happens now between Glasgow and Crianlarich. The north of Scotland routes from Inverness are already operated by 158s, which generally cope with demand, though in March of this year I travelled on one from Scots Calder to Inverness, which was full to standing from Tain, as a lot of local people were heading into Inverness for shopping, pub crawling and other things. Also, Ross County had a home game in Dingwall. Kyle trains can be busy in the summer peak, and 170s would be ideal for this line. Cascading second-hand rolling stock onto the rural routes in Scotland is nothing new. In the 1970s and 80s it was the norm, which added to the idiosyncratic appeal to rail enthusiasts for trip to Scotland. The introduction of 156s in the 1980s was a big step. After nearly 40 years, it would be sad to see them go. It's going to be interesting seeing this unfold, but in the meantime, if you like the older trains, make the most of them. Thanks for watching, and if you'd like to sponsor me with a coffee or even a beer, please see the link here to Ko-fi. And I'd like to thank all my previous donors who are shown here on this slide. Thank you very much.